In this video, I'm going to be collabing with Chantal from Intentional Homeschooling. She will be left linked down below. And we're collabing with books that we recommend for children ages 4 to 8. This is typically the age range that I get a lot of what do you recommend for, especially from families that do a lot of read alouds. They have covered books like Little House and E.B. White and Chronicles of Narnia and very many books within that, and they're still looking for more read aloud suggestions. What I don't have here, and I would recommend, what is the Green Ember series, S.D. Smith. That tends to be one that during this age range is a really good choice. But between Chantal and I, we're hoping that with this collaboration, you'll have plenty of ideas for the summer ahead. And thank you for watching. If you are coming from Chantal's channel, thank you for stopping by, and hope you stick around for more. This week it is all about the books. So if you have missed my first 2 days of book talk, Monday I shared about our minimalist home journey with books, and that led to yesterday's video, Tuesday's video, which was kind of more like, if you like the Penderwicks, you'll like these. And in that video are some like 4 to 8-year-old suggestions. Actually, I think all of those would easily fit within that age category of today's video. And then tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday, I'm going to have our favorite picture books that we kept after our minimalist journey. So it's just a week long of wonderful book talk that I think my viewers and subscribers will really enjoy. But you're here because you're wanting to see these books. So let me just get started with them. I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible because I am known for talking forever. A lot of these are from the public library because that's how life works right now. Another thing that I try to do with a lot of this is ones that both my boys and my girls like. My boys don't necessarily like things like A Little Princess. However, I read it to my 6-year-old daughter last year and she loved it. She loved it so much that she read it again on her own. The Secret Garden is the same way. So those would be really good read aloud ones for her, but they are, or for your 4 to 8-year-old if they are girls. I really tried to focus on family-friendly read alouds in this, so just bear that in mind. I pulled out 2 of Carolyn Hayward's. This one is Penny and Peter, and this one is Primrose Day. The one that we really read and enjoyed, I'm trying to avoid glare, is B is for Betsy. That tends to be the book that more people know of. However, she did write some other ones, and this one is Penny and Peter and Primrose Day. I will try to briefly discuss if there's anything I know being objectionable for anyone in here. I do have one book that I could potentially see some people having a problem with, and I will address that further on. Pinocchio is a classic, and typically when you hear classic, you kind of think harder to understand, harder language, and to a certain extent, some of them are. I mean, I would not recommend picking up a Dickens book for your children ages 4 to 8. It's just too intense. Pinocchio is so much more than the Disney movie, okay? Please do not let that fool you. This is a really good in-depth story behind a lot of... It was the kind of book that children grew up reading about and really took away some core values with. And it's about a toy maker and about his doll, but whimsical. If you get a good one with illustrations, children love that. Honestly, this is one that, because Disney had simplified it so much that my kids weren't really sure about if they would like it, but this turned out to be a favorite one for our family. Everybody knows about Pippi and Pippi Longstockings, right? But did you know that the author actually wrote 2 other books? This one is The Children of Noisy Village. This is about a Swedish family, kind of along the same Pippi Longstocking lines, and this one's a little bit more serious, I think, than Pippi Longstockings. Still really fun. It would work as a read aloud. Same author, but this is Rasmus and the Vagabond. It is about a 9-year-old orphan boy and his adventures with a tramp or vagabond, or yeah, they called it a tramp in here. I do not remember anything in here. This one is a little bit more wordy. Will take a little bit longer, but again, I think if you get maybe not like the 4 to 8, but if you had like a 6 to 8, that I think would be a really good age range. That being said, this next book that I'm going to hold up and share with you is Abel's Island by William Steig. And one of the reviewers said that if you like Charlotte's Web, you'll like this one. And this is about a rat, I think it's a rat, or a mouse, or some rodent that ends up on the island, and there is a little bit of family sadness in here. I believe his wife died, if I remember correctly, and it's kind of a retelling of Robinson Crusoe in a animal form, and my kids loved it. And honestly, when I was picking out books to do this video with, my 8-year-old, and this has been like 3 years I think since we've read this last, my 8-year-old, who would have been 5 at the time, was like, oh yeah, Mom, I love that book, we should read it again. So I guess I know what we're going to be reading someday soon, and that is Abel Island. Again, the thing that might be a trigger is because I believe his wife died. No, his wife didn't die. He's rescuing the wife's scarf. I just read the back. He's rescuing the wife's scarf, and he's having a really hard time getting back to his family. So that can be like a little tricky, because he does have some Robinson Crusoe moments where he's just yelling and saying, why can't I just... So keep that in mind. But we had been talking about classics and how Dickens, not the kind of thing I would recommend reading, you know, like that. But if we want to do classics, this would be the best way, in my opinion, to do it, which actually is kind of anti-Charlotte Mason of me, because you don't do a bridge, you do the real thing. But these great illustrated classics do a really good job of taking some difficult classics and kind of giving it an introduction. I kind of look at it like a, you know how we do introduction or simplified Shakespeare, and then we do the Shakespeare plays, which again, there's also debate on that. I look at it like this. It's not so simplified. These books haven't simplified it so much that you're missing the essence of it, but they have simplified it too, so that you get the story and you're not lost in all the details that classics tend to put in. And you lose a lot of it. So this was the Three Musketeers. Again, as I was checking out, my 8-year-old was like, oh Mom, I love that book. So there you go. They do many of them. I think I even had Ivanhoe at one point. We've done this, Three Musketeers. What else? That would be a great way to do Moby Dick. Like if you feel like you have to do Moby Dick and check off that classic. Anyway, there you go. Great way to do things like that. And that one is definitely fun for ages 4 to 8. And then even 8 and up, they can read on their own. Let's talk about Thornton Burgess. Okay, so we have like his bird book, his animal book, but he also wrote a ton of these like specific adventures that animals have. So, and it's not within the animal book, which I did not know that, and I assumed it was all together. But this is the Adventures of Grandfather Frog. I don't know if this is the only one I got, but there at my local library, there's like a whole shelf of these, and you go through different birds, and they're just your simple stories about them, and it kind of gives, think of Toad and Frog a little bit more advanced, so it's not just beginner reader, and then a little bit more in depth of how animals kind of work. But you are going to get animal speaking, which I know some people aren't okay with. You are going to get animal speaking, but this would be a great way to do it. And there is, again, a whole range, and you can just work your way through, and that'll give you enough for at least a month or two of reading. But speaking of animal talking in books, you can go for these two. These are the only two I know of. There may be more, but these are the only two I know of. This is by Robert Lawson. This is Ben and Me. This is the story of Benjamin Franklin told through the pet mouse, or just a mouse that by his good mouse Amos. So you get Benjamin Franklin and his inventions and his life told through his good mouse, Mr. Amos. Likewise, you have Mr. Revere and I, and it is the account of Paul Revere and who he was and the whole story told through his trusty horse, revealed by his horse. And so the horse is telling the story of Mr. Revere. Those are definitely fun things to do. Again, going with animal speaking, let's just get this one out of the way because I think this is the last one I'm going to be sharing with you. This is Chester Cricket's new home. This is not the first one in the series. My library did not have the first one on the shelf, but Chester Cricket, or the cricket in Times Square, it is about this cricket that is in Times Square. He is at a newspaper stand, and it's about like this Italian family that's kind of struggling, and Chester Cricket has a hidden talent that ends up saving this family. But it's not just that story. It's about these different animals, the cat, the cricket, and the rats, or some other animal that comes into the picture, and they're trying to get Chester Cricket home because he accidentally got into a travel or a picnic basket, into a suitcase, something like that, and ended up in New York City, and he wants to get back home. So at the end, Chester Cricket goes home, and then there was more in the series. So this one is Chester Cricket's new home. We have been wanting to read the whole series, but we haven't gotten there yet. So I can't tell you about the rest of them, but we loved the first one. It was actually one of the first read-alouds that I did, and I did a read-aloud video on how that looked like the first time I began, so I will leave that linked down below for you. So pretty much these next four I'm going to be showing with you. If you had ages maybe like 4 to 6, these might be a little bit too, maybe a little too in-depth for them. That being said, I have often been amazed at how things I think might be too in-depth end up my kids loving and enjoying. And it's one of the beauties of read-alouds is that the more you do it, like, their comprehension really builds up because they're not trying to fight putting together what the word is, what it means in this whole sentence, and then the story is lost behind there. So keep that in mind when you're doing read-alouds. It might seem like this is too old for them, but because you are reading it to them, they can connect and comprehend a little bit better. Keep that in mind. Homer Price by Robert Mcclowsky. I've talked about Robert Mcclowsky. I love Robert Mcclowsky. You're going to have him tomorrow when I keep raving about Robert Mcclowsky. Lentils, another really good one. This one is probably one of my childhood favorites. This tells the story of Homer Price and his adventures in his town and his pet skunk. Yeah, good luck with that one. This boy with his like pet skunk and catching robbers in one, and then you have another chapter where another adventure he is trying to get donuts, and then a ring is involved in there, and then you have another episode where the sheriff and some other guy, I don't remember, are in love with the same woman, and they have this big ball of string, and they're gonna have like this contest and trying to win the heart of this lady, and then her string comes into the picture, and then she gets to choose. And I mean, they're just fun little like town tales that just keep building up, and lots of fun. Snow Treasure. Again, this one is World War II, but this is probably like a little bit easier World War II. You know how some of them get a little intense and you're not sure. This one I think dances that line, so maybe for your little bit upper readers, maybe not like 4 to 6, but more like 6 to 8. And this again just might depend upon your family, but this is about these boys that end up hiding money in the sleighs and kind of get them past Nazis. And I've got 5 minutes, so I'm going to actually talk a little bit faster. So this one was really, it's been a while since we've read this, so I don't really know much more to tell you. I just remember thinking, oh, that was really fun. Why haven't we done this sooner? So I pulled it out for this one. Again, those are really enjoyable to do. 4 minutes left on my card, so let me get talking really quickly about Elizabeth George Spear. She also did Witch of Blackbird Pond, but I do think that one is better older. These ones were just fine with the kids' ages that we had. It's just the Witch of Blackbird Pond.
There's a bird on the birdhouse.
Yay! The Witch of Blackbird Pond, I think, was more from a girl's perspective, and all of that. It was kind of older in that sense. So they never really got interested in that as much as they did these. This one is The Sign of the Beaver. My boys loved this one. A boy living on his own. Indian boy helps him. Robinson Crusoe's in the picture. And they learn all about how the Native Americans learned how to identify with different tribes, how they didn't cross tribes, how they lived on their own, and honor and virtue within this. So that was really good. This one we read this year, and I've talked a lot about it already, but this is The Bronze Bow, again, by Elizabeth George Spear, and this is kind of during the times of Christ. They have very mature message behind it that might go over your kids, but that might not. My 8-year-old boy was surprised me in this, as well as my 7-year-old daughter, or 6-year-old daughter. So don't think that it's a little bit more than it is. This one, again, would be one of those ones that I think you're going to have to figure out if this is the right fit for your family. We have been reading aloud for many years. That maturity and comprehension in reading has been built up. But this was phenomenal. Highly recommend it. Give it a try, especially if you do a lot of read alouds and have the upper grades. This is The Year of Billy Miller by Kevin Hankeys. Honestly, this was so much fun to read out loud to my son. This is the one that I think might have a little bit of controversy in it. The mother works, father stays at home. I know some people are going to have a problem with that. Also, too, he has a really hard time with his sister when she gets into her stuff, like all children do. And so it might seem like it is promoting sibling rivalry. I actually didn't see that. I thought it was handled very well, and it's just this boy in first grade and his adventures in school, so it's not homeschool based, and it's just another really fun book to really enjoy and see different perspective, especially his parents working together. That was really fun to see. We just really enjoyed it, and it's, you know, not necessarily all old-fashioned, you know, books written before 1938 or whatever. This is kind of a more modern story, and so when I can find really fun and enjoyable ones, I like to promote them. So this is The Year of Billy Miller. Again, we saw it on the library shelf. Son had to check it out so he could reread it again. That's a winner of my book. If you give a book nerd an idea, she is going to run with it. If your children loved Little House on the Prairie, that whole series, Farmer Boy is all of our favorites. Look into Sweet Home Alaska by Carol Etzby Dagg. I'll leave it linked down below for you. We got this in our family reading crate that Build Your Library. She did this a few years ago, and we got their monthly subscription crate, and we have found several books that are family favorites. Oh my goodness, once again, I totally forgot to tell you what this book is about. It is about a family that goes to Alaska following Franklin Delano Roosevelt's new, and they are going to make a frontier family type of thing, you know, all that kind of stuff. And this girl in here, whose name is Terpsichore, she is inspired by Laura Ingalls Wilder, and that is, you know, your essence of the story. It's awesome. It's wonderful. I highly recommend you getting it. Get into these. These are by Marguerite Henry, and this was a set from Costco, so definitely keep an eye out at Costco for things like this, because I know people have gotten their Narnia books there. We got Roald Dahl, which I actually do not like Roald Dahl, and we got rid of ours, but we got his there. And these ones are just like, they're all of her horse books. So we have Justin Morgan Had a Horse. This one's really fun. It's actually how the Morgan horses kind of came about. Again, Farmer Boy. Kind of makes sense why this would be a family favorite. This one is more known in like American history. This is a Benjamin West and his cat Grimlican. Again, along lines with like Mr. Rivera and I, and Benjamin Franklin told through his mouth, or Ben and Me. This one isn't told from his cat's perspective, but it's about Benjamin West and his cat. And my son did this in about 2nd grade, and I actually think it would have been better as a read aloud. But Benjamin West was a Quaker painter and a very terrific one. And then these ones all go together. This is Misty, the Misty series. So, and Misty of Chincoteague, Stormy, Misty's Fall, and Misty's Twilight. So these would be very fun. I'm not going to try to hold them up because then the books on my lap are going to fall. King of the Wind won the Newbery, and it's like Arabian horses. I think, if I remember correctly, this one is a little bit more hard to follow. If I remember correctly, I just remember having a little bit harder time with that. So, bear that in mind. We also have Mustang, Wild Spirit of the West. So you have The Rise of Mustangs. Another Chincoteague, I'm sorry. Sea Star, Orphan of Chincoteague. So, and then Variety of the Grand Canyon, and it's about a donkey, or no, burro, I believe. Burro. So it's about a burro, and I believe Teddy Roosevelt is also in this. So kind of like history from a horse point of view. So, and then we have another one. It's a hardback, and I'm not even going to try to dig it out, but it's the doctor horse or medicine horse. But I have never read that, so I can't recommend that, or not even recommend it, but I can't tell you anything about it. But those series are really, really fun to read, especially if you have horse lovers. So wanted to throw that in here. And those are going to be the books I'm going to share with you in this video. And I hope you liked it. And don't forget to go check out Chantal's video. It'll be linked, or her channel will be linked down below.
They built a nest in it.
Wow! And then, I have boys really excited about birds and nests and bees and all that. So I'm going to leave this here. There is ideas for you. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope it gave you some new ideas. I know that there's just so many out there and you just don't know what is a good fit.